Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 228 based on novel. So let's start. Outside the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea, a crowd saw the entrance disappear completely, and the only expectation in their hearts was completely dashed. They sighed and were filled with sadness. Unexpectedly, although Xiao Yan saved all the young generation of his high clan, he would eventually catch his own life. Once Xiao Xian wakes up afterwards, I'm afraid the two high clan can't explain to him. At this moment, Haimo Dust is still unwilling to stare at the place where the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea disappears. He doesn't believe that he will die like this by means of Xiao Yang. He will never believe it. Buzz. However, at this time, after the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea disappeared, at the place where it originally stood, a dark light spot suddenly appeared and expanded rapidly. In the twinkling of an eye, it had turned into a huge black tent with a height of one person. That's... Seeing the black tent, Haimo Dust's face suddenly changed. At the same time, several people around him also found the sudden changes in the field. The eyes of several people immediately looked away. Then, a figure full of embarrassment suddenly rushed out of the black tent. After shaking his body several times, he was stable in the void. He raised his head. At the first sight, he was stunned and stared at his crowd, grinning. Fortunately, I came back. As soon as the voice fell, his body suddenly softened, and he wanted to fall from the void. However, the sea battle sky's eyes were fast and his hands were fast. He quickly flashed forward to catch people. After rapid exploration, he turned back and nodded to Haimo Dust with a worried face, saying, "It's all right. He just fainted because he was too weak." At the same time, all the people present also showed a relieved smile on their faces. Blood Crown smiled at Hai Linga and held the girl's weak and boneless jade hand in the palm of his hand. On one side, their fathers noticed the scene, but they looked at each other, smiled and nodded without saying much. When Xiao Yang woke up again, he found himself in a bedroom. He got up and looked. There were unique decorations in the sea everywhere in the bedroom. There were sea reefs and corals everywhere, even all the furniture. There was no one else in the room, and the environment was extremely quiet. When Xiao Yang spread his soul power outward, a large area of strange architectural scene immediately appeared in his mind. At the same time, he also realized that he was in the deep sea at the moment. The area where Xiao Yang is now is different from other places. Although it is deep sea, it is another area opened up. It is not covered by sea water, but like human land. Through some landmark buildings, it is not difficult to see that Xiao Yang is now among the sea sharks, and his location, it seems to be close to the center of the whole ethnic group. When its soul power spreads outward, it is also shocked by the huge power of the sea ethnic group. In this vast underwater world, the boundless buildings spread in all directions. With Xiao Yang's soul power, we can't see the end of the building. It's also conceivable that the sea shark family is huge. You can see it from the inside. When returning to consciousness, Xiao Yang also found that the fighting spirit in his body had completely recovered, and even some injuries on his body had disappeared. At the moment, Xiao Yang's state had recovered to the peak. Feeling the power filled in his body, Xiao Yang couldn't help sighing. It's better to feel powerful. Recalling what he had encountered in the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea before, the feeling of weakness all over his body from the inside to the outside really made people feel a lingering fear. In the end, if he didn't do his best to condense the avenue of emptiness, so as to escape from the dead, I'm afraid Xiao Yang at this time has long been swallowed up by the boundless darkness. Taking back his mind, Xiao Yang suddenly thought. Then, a light blue virtual image quickly rose from behind. Fortunately, with Xiao Yang's control, it didn't touch the roof. Otherwise, this bedroom might be destroyed by Xiao Yang. Take a breath and look back at the pale blue virtual image condensed behind him. A smile can't help but appear at the corners of Xiao Yang's mouth. The third decision of the wing elephant decision and the four saints image decision. If you can cultivate it, you can also try to condense the last decision, the giant elephant decision. At the beginning, according to the statement of the four saints image determination, If we could integrate these 4 decisions and use the power of giant elephants, even comparable to the Italian-level fighting skills, even Xiao Yang would have to be moved by these temptation. Of course, it's still a long way from that step now. Let's not say when we can condense the giant elephant decision, that is to give full play to the power of Italy-level fighting skills. With today's Xiao Yang, it's far from being able to do it. However, it also exerts a certain driving force for Xiao Yang in a certain way. After a little meditation, the virtual image behind him dispersed. Looking inward, he came to his mind. At the moment, a blue energy light group is slowly floating in Xiao Yang's mind, and this is the part of the burning formula fragments given to him by Hymo dust. Now, Xiao Yang plans to take this opportunity to refine it. It can be regarded as solving a worry in my heart. When I thought of doing it, the strange fire in the cyclone in my body immediately surged up and quickly poured into my mind. Under the control of Xiao Yang, it turned into a flame medicine tripod and quickly wrapped up the blue energy light in front of me. Soon, it began to refine without hesitation. The refining process is much simpler and faster. With Xiao Yang's cultivation today, there is almost no difficulty in refining the fragments of burning formula. However, in about an hour, the fragments of burning formula were successfully refined, and almost at the same time, the burning formula skill in Xiao Yang's body also runs involuntarily. At that time, the fierce suction poured out of Xiao Yang's body. The energy in the whole bedroom and the outside world was pulled because of this special suction and gathered involuntarily towards Xiao Yang. Feeling the abnormal energy in the air around him, Xiao Yang couldn't help but take his eyebrows. It seems that the refining of the burning formula has also attracted the breath in his body. Maybe he can take this opportunity to break through the 8-star duty at one stroke. With this in mind, Xiao Yang immediately grinned, quickly sat down, entered the state of cultivation, and began to concentrate on absorbing and refining the energy of heaven and earth. Well, what's going on? The sudden accident also immediately alerted the high people patrolling nearby. Immediately, many people gathered from all directions towards Xiao Yang's place. However, as soon as they appeared over Xiao Yang's bedroom, the 4 shadows suddenly appeared out of thin air like ghosts, and waved to stop these high soldiers who wanted to go forward to investigate. With this in mind, Rao couldn't help taking a breath as the 2 men. At the same time, his favor for Xiao Yang also increased rapidly. The grace of saving lives can make them polite to Xiao Yang, but if it is related to the future potential of the latter, they have to be treated seriously. In the void, the head of the sea shark family immediately turned his eyes to the sea battle day in front of him and quickly said respectfully, "Father, I suggest that I send a message to the sea shark family immediately. From then on, I will treat Mr. Xiao Yang as a VIP." On one side, when he heard the speech, he immediately raised his eyebrows. Indeed, a simple favor can't win the hearts of the people. Only the most practical action is the most effective way to win them over. However, as soon as the voice of the current one reached the ears of the sea and the sky, the latter turned his mouth and said in a deep voice, "When you think of this step, the whole sea family has known in advance. I've already told the elders of the 2 Dahai families to send orders. From today on, Xiao Yang has become a joint title elder of the 2 Dahai families. Except for the patriarch and the elder in charge, everyone else must salute when they meet. What else do you say about VIP, Hai Xiao? You underestimate him." A low voice immediately made the tsunami bow his head in shame. At the same time, even the Bitian Jiao on one side couldn't help but be stunned. Unexpectedly, the command of Naval Battle Day had been conveyed to the 2 Dahai tribes. It was his clan leader who didn't know until now. Then, the 4 people quieted down. Under the leadership of Hymo Dust, they landed in the courtyard where Xiao Yang is located below. Several people sat in the courtyard and waited for Xiao Yang calmly. Soon afterwards, the young men and women of Xuemian and Hai Linga also followed. In the twinkling of an eye, it was 3 days later. In the bedroom, Xiao Yang closed his eyes for 3 days and slowly opened them at the moment. At the moment when his eyes opened, the dark eyes flashed past when they were neutral. At the same time, the breath in Xiao Yang's body also completely stabilized. Who? After a long breath, Xiao Yang carefully felt the strength of his body several times stronger than 3 days ago. He couldn't help smiling. This breakthrough was as smooth as a natural course, from the operation of skill, to the absorption and refining of heaven and earth energy, the expansion of cyclone space, and the enhancement of his overall quality. All aspects are extremely smooth, and this is also due to Xiao Yang's continuous fighting, continuous consumption of himself and accumulation of strength in recent months. Sure enough, fighting is the best way to improve cultivation speed. After returning to his mind, Xiao Yang got up and washed slightly, and then walked out of the door. At the moment, in the courtyard outside the door, several figures are standing separately. Sitting at the stone table in the courtyard, they noticed that Xiao Yang went out, and the sight of several people present also threw over. Seeing the people in front of him, Xiao Yang's body shape just went out of the door could not help but stagnate slightly. He looked at these people in front of him with a little consternation. After a long time, Xiao Yang coughed twice, hurried out and hugged several people respectfully, saying, "I've kept several predecessors waiting. Ha ha ha, there's nothing to wait for. We wanted to see how your health is, but we just saw you breaking through. Anyway, it's boring, so we just sat here waiting for you." Several people got up and came to Xiao Yang, looked at each other, and then the Sea Battle Day gave an indifferent laugh. The rest of the people around him also nodded with a smile. Soon, Haimo Chen smiled and asked, "How about refining the fragments of the burning formula? Now the cultivation has also broken through." Well, it has broken through 8 stars. It's an unexpected joy. As soon as he said this, no one was surprised by the 4 strong people of the Sea family, such as Haimo Dust, but the Blood Crown and Hai Linga behind them. The expression on the face of the man and woman instantly became extremely shocked, especially the Blood Crown. He looked at Xiao Yang with a stunned face and his eyes were full of unbelievable looks. "Xiao Yang. Elder Xiao Yang, you said you broke through the 8 stars? How is this possible? You defeated so many warcraft of the Fighting Emperor level alone with the power of one person in the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea, but how can your cultivation be only the 8-star Fighting Emperor?" Blood Crown is not only the idea in his heart, but also in the whole Sea family. There will be countless people with such ideas. No one can believe that a 7-star Fighting Emperor can burst out the power that even 9-star Fighting Emperors are afraid to avoid. Unfortunately, when the story of Xiao Yang's defeat in Yuanfu spread, the voice of skepticism among the whole Hai family gradually subsided. Especially after the high level of the Hai family tacitly accepted the occurrence of this incident, all the younger generation of the Hai family no longer had doubts. However, the Blood Crown and Hai Linga, who had just escaped from the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea, knew nothing about this, but they knew very well that Xiao Yang in front of them had extremely terrible combat power. According to their evaluation, Xiao Yang's strength was definitely the first person under the source environment. However, what they never expected was Xiao Yang's real cultivation. Even the 9-star Fight Emperor is not. Hehe, I'm afraid it's a long story, but Brother Xuemian, why do you call me an elder? With a faint smile, Xiao Yang didn't say much on this topic. As soon as his voice turned, he noticed a detail in the words just said by Blood Crown. "Hehe, let me tell you this." Then, Haimo Chen explained the reason for this to Xiao Yang with a smile. After hearing the speech and thinking about it in his heart, he immediately understood the intention of Naval Battle Day. While he felt funny about it, Xiao Yang also accepted it with a grateful smile. Joke, the joint elders of the 2 Dahai ethnic groups say that they are not moved. It is false. Just be someone else. Don't say that he is a fighting emperor. I'm afraid he is the strong one in Yuanwang's territory, and he will be moved by it. Then, Xiao Yang seemed to think of something. As soon as he raised his eyebrows, he quickly looked at Haimo Dust, frowned and asked, "Elder, I don't know how the younger ancestor is now." Seeing Xiao Yang's worried look, Haimo Chen smiled and said, "Your ancestor, in order to support the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea, finally exhausted his soul power and has temporarily fallen into a deep sleep." As soon as he said this, Xiao Yang's face suddenly changed, but then Haimo Dust continued to speak. But fortunately, with the huge resources of the Sea family, I selected several herbs for him that can help restore his soul power. After refining, he is now slowly absorbing them. I believe he will wake up soon. I'm afraid you will be surprised by the recovery process of his soul power." While Haimo Chen said this, he also gave Xiao Yang a milky white ring. Xiao Xian's soul source was in it. When the tsunami and Bitian Jiao heard Haimo Chen's words, they couldn't help but smoke. It was natural. In order to restore Xiao Xian's soul power, Haimo Dust impolitely searched all the herbs that are helpful to the soul power of the two Dahai families. Some of them are unique. Even they are reluctant to give up. Unexpectedly, they are cheap now, Xiao Xian. Hearing Haimo Chen's words, he explored the situation in his ring and felt the incomparable huge soul power. Xiao Yang couldn't help feeling shocked. Coupled with the painful expressions of the two patriarchs, he suddenly realized that Haimo Chen robbed the whole Haizu for him. With this in mind, Rao couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva with Xiao Yang's nature. It seemed that he was afraid that the two people would settle accounts with him in the future. However, Haimo Chen and Hai Zhontian looked indifferent. When Xiao Yang took back his mind, Haimo Chen hesitated a little, then smiled and fell on him again, smiling. "Little fellow, since your ancestors are all right now, you have got another unexpected joy. How about this? Good things have become more and more. I'll give you another surprise." As he spoke, Haimo Dust stretched out a palm. In Xiao Yang's curious eyes, a dark blue flame suddenly rose. "It's the Sea Heart Flame. Sea Heart Flame." Seeing the blue flame rising in the hands of Haimo Dust at the moment, Xiao Yang's look suddenly coagulated, and he couldn't help crying out in his mouth. When he came to the North Sea, the ultimate goal was for Haishan Flame. Now, unexpectedly, Haimo Dust took the initiative to send Haishan Flame to him before he could speak. "Hihi, I'll give it to you sooner or later. I won't have much trouble. I've lived in Beihai for 1,000 years. I really don't want to leave here. This ocean is my sustenance. As you said, I really can't let go of Beihai College. Therefore, I'm going to give you the Sea Heart Flame before you leave." Listening to Haimo Chen's words, several people nearby suddenly looked at each other. Finally, the two patriarchs looked at the sea battle day together. They were very clear about the relationship between the two people in front of them. It was hard for the latter to accept Haimo Chen's departure, but it was all like Haimo Chen explained to him, Ben is his duty. Life needs to face many separation, but the meaning is different. Hearing Haimo Chen's words, Xiao Yang also fell into silence for a moment. If he could get Haishan Yang, his heart would naturally be happy. However, at the same time, he had to feel a deep regret and remorse for the friendship between the two old people. If it weren't for his appearance, the two old people in front of him would be able to accompany him as always. "Oh, well, it's no big deal. I've made up my mind. Little guy, you should make some preparations before the refining fire within this period of time. I know that if you are allowed to refine immediately, you can't start in a hurry. Then look for a refining place in the seabed first." Seeing the expression on everyone's faces, Haimo Dust smiled, looked at the silent sea battle sky beside him, patted the latter on the shoulder and said, "Old man, in the future, my Beihai College will depend on you. I have sent the news back. From now on, you will be the vice president of Beihai College. If there is anything important in the college, you have to rely on you. You guy, left this big stall to me. Why did you let me be the vice president and the president?" Hai Zhantian frowned and made an expression like birth on his face. Haimo Chen grinned and said with a smile, "Naturally, it's still me, ha ha." Hearing the speech, the sea battle day was silent. Then Haimo Dust looked at Xiao Yang again and said, "Remember, little guy, when refining different fires, you should first choose some deep-sea areas or submarine abysses, which will more or less suppress the different fires, and the temperature of the deep-sea areas will also decrease, which will help you to refine different fires. As for the medicinal materials and pills needed in the process, I think you are a pharmacist. This question I don't have to solve the problem for you." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang nodded, which he had also thought of. Refining different fire at the bottom of the sea is a unique refining environment. With Xiao Yang's mind, refining different fire must be to find a perfect place. However, when several people behind him heard what Haimo Chen said, Xiao Yang was still a herbalist. His originally calm face showed a shocked expression again. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yang in front of him could be a medicine refiner while he had such terrible fighting power against the sky. This identity, however, was like a heavy bomb, which exploded in the hearts of these people. However, soon, when the tsunami and Bitian Jiao came back, Bitian Jiao took a step forward without hesitation, faced Xiao Yang and said with a smile, "If you need an undersea abyss, go to our Haijiao family. The Qianlong abyss in the altar of our Haijiao family, but it is the deepest undersea abyss in the whole North Sea. In addition, it is also the place where our family sacrifices all year round. It contains a lot of cold air in our family's blood. It should be the best refining place." As soon as they said this, Haimoken and Hanshan nodded. They agreed with this, but it was the tsunami. They looked at the Bite Jiaotian with a little hesitation and said, "But the Qianlongyuan is, after all, the altar of the Haijiao family. There has been no precedent for outsiders to enter for countless years. Will those old guys of the Haijiao family? Ha ha ha, brother Hai, you don't have to worry about this. Xiao Yang is now a great hero of our Hai family. Everyone is grateful and loved for him. What's more, don't you forget that Xiao Yang is now a joint senior of you and my two families. How can he be regarded as an outsider? And I think even without this identity, those old guys won't object." Phage Tianjiao laughed, and several people in the presence were relieved one after another. Then, Haimo Chen looked at Xiao Yang and said, "Although the location has been selected, you'd better go and have a look in person. After all, the final decision is still in your hands. It's up to you to choose whether it's appropriate or not." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang nodded. What Haimo Chen said was good. Although the so-called Qianlongyuan and several elders present said it was good, it was only their subjective judgment after all. Whether everything depends or not depends on Xiao Yang himself. Then why don't Xiao Yang go and have a look with me first? Phage Tianjiao also nodded in recognition of the same sex. They are outsiders after all. They don't say they can do a lot of things. Then, Xiao Yang followed the Bite Tianjiao all the way, left the residence of the sea shark family first, ran through the sea, and quickly rushed to the location of the Sea Jiao family, while Yu Haimoken and others stayed first for the time being. Soon, under the leadership of Bitian Jiao, they came to the place where the Hai Jiao family was located. At a glance, although the architectural category here is slightly different from that of the sea shark family, its overall scale also makes Xiao Yang feel a burst of emotion in his heart. With the guidance of Tianjiao, they soon came to a huge stone platform of Haijiao family. As soon as they appeared, several guards of the Haijiao family standing at the edge of the stone platform quickly saluted respectfully. When their eyes turned after they noticed Xiao Yang, they immediately guessed the identity of the latter. At present, they were shocked and did not dare to bow to him. Smiled and nodded. After Xiao Yang motioned, he set his eyes on the huge stone platform in front of him. The whole stone platform is made of layers of steps. It is like a pyramid without a tip. In the center of it, there is a huge circular hole, which goes straight to the bottom of the sea. Because of its depth, the hole looks extremely deep and dark at a glance. Just looking at it, people can't help feeling a thrill. Before approaching the cave, Xiao Yang felt a deep chill from the bottom of the cave. Even if he had a different fire to protect his body, he still felt a chill on his back. This coolness not only penetrated into the bone, but also made people's soul tremble. This cave is the Hidden Dragon Deep, the place where Xiao Yang used to refine different fires. Feeling the cold and piercing chill coming from the cave, Xiao Yang was immediately happy. Yes, this is what he needs. Haha, how are you? Are you satisfied? Seeing the surprised expression on Xiao Yang's face, he knew something in his heart. He laughed and said, "Yes, this Qianlongyuan Pass is worthy of being the altar of the Sea Jiao family. It has such a strong chill just outside. If you go deep, the chill must be stronger. Maybe it can add a lot of cheaper for me to refine different fire." Xiao Yang smiled with satisfaction and gave it to the Qianlong Yuan. It was a holy land for refining different fire. It could not be more suitable. "Well, since you're satisfied, I'll rest assured. Wait here for a moment." I'll explain to some old guys in the clan, so that they won't say that I, the clan leader, didn't inform them in advance." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang nodded with understanding. This relationship in the family is indeed very troublesome. Even if the patriarch makes decisions, many things also need to be approved by the Presbyterian Council, not to mention it is like the altar in the family. Soon, Biti and Jiao left here, while Xiao Yang walked slowly to the Qianlong Yuan. With Xiao Yang's approach, it was originally a dark Qianlong abyss, but some changes suddenly took place. A little blue light was reflected in the dark undersea cave. The light gradually became clear. When Xiao Yang came to the edge of the hidden dragon abyss, the whole cave was filled with bright blue light. Although the cave still looked deep and bottomless, the eye, even some grooves in the cave, also reflected gorgeous light. Aware of this, Xiao Yang was surprised. He withdrew a few steps backward, and the light in front of him was dim. At this time, he realized that the Qianlongyuan had a special design, so that the light in it could be seen only when it was close. As for the darkness seen in the distance, it could be regarded as a means of protection for the Haijiao family. After all, no one wants to touch something that will be feared at first sight. However, when Xiao Yang looked curiously at the Qianlongyuan in front of him, a burly figure came up along the steps not far from the edge of the stone platform. When the bodyguards around the stone platform saw the man, their faces immediately showed a respectful look and quickly bowed to the latter. The man also waved his hands roughly, and his face was still depressed. Because of previous events, he has been punished by the Presbyterian Council to patrol the whole Haijiao family in recent months, and he is not allowed to leave the family for half a step within 3 months. In the past, has he ever been so angry? Not long ago, this big man was led by the blood of the Haijiao family who was shaken back by Xiao Yang with the help of the benefit of different fire in Panxi Island. It was precisely because of the failure of the Yuan House selection that the Blood Commander was sanctioned by the Presbyterian Council, which made this scene at the moment. Damn! It's all the human boy's fault. With a cold hum of anger on his face, the big man suddenly looked up. At the same time, in his sight, a figure dressed in black appeared in his eyes. Looking at the slightly familiar back, the big man's eyes narrowed slowly, and finally, a deep anger broke out in the depths of his eyes. "Human boy. It's you. You dare to appear in our family. It's true that there's a way in heaven. You don't go. There's no door in hell. You throw yourself." The raging anger gathered wildly in the eyes of the lineage leader. Wang Jiyuan blocked him that day, so he failed to kill Xiao Yang. Today, Xiao Yang unexpectedly appeared in his family in such a big way. Anyway, he must release the accumulated anger in his heart for more than a month. "Boy, die for me. I was punished in March. Today I want you to taste what it means to live without dying." A roar of anger, and then the lineage leader couldn't help but say that in the stunned eyes around the stone platform, the soles of his feet stepped heavily on the ground, and his body suddenly rushed, but in the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Xiao Yang and hit the latter's head. For the attack suddenly coming from behind, Xiao Yang's face changed suddenly, and he didn't dare to neglect it. His mind moved, and his internal fighting spirit ran quickly. At the same time, a blue virtual image behind him also condensed in an instant. Then, when the fist hit, Xiao Yang's body turned to one side, full of fierce fists. This just narrowly brushed past Xiao Yang's ear. The sharp sound of breaking the wind made Xiao Yang's eardrums ache. While half of his face was distorted, his body did not dare to pause at all. When another punch came, he quickly dodged again. Looking at the lineage leader with such a fierce attack in front of him, Xiao Yang couldn't help feeling a sense of surprise. The word fate was really ingenious and difficult to catch. He didn't expect to meet the Blood Commander again at this time. I have to say, it's really a narrow road. He was worried about being stopped by this guy a month ago, but he didn't expect to meet again now. After dodging for several times, Xiao Yang was inevitably hurt by this guy. His black robe suddenly broke several big holes. At the same time, several red fist marks were left on Xiao Yang. Until now, the bodyguards around Shatai reacted in shock. Then they hurried forward with their faces greatly changed. Regardless of their own safety, they surrounded the lineage leader who wanted to attack Xiao Yang again. The latter's action was forced to stop. With the obstruction of these guards and sudden changes in the field, it stopped, but the lineage leader still looked angry, glanced at these people in front of him, and shouted, "Why, are you trying to die? You stopped me for a human boy." At this time, I was full of anger. I didn't have to think about the reason. However, all the guards in front of me changed their faces and shouted loudly, "Commander Xue, this adult can't be hurt. He is a joint elder of the two Dahai nationalities specially invited by Senior Hanshan. He can't be hurt." At the mention of the sea battle day, the blood lineage leader's pupils suddenly shrunk, most of the anger in his heart immediately disappeared, and the thoughts in his brain immediately became clear. Indeed, he also heard about it. It is said that even the patriarch attached great importance to it. After some thought, the red face led by blood quickly turned into a pale face. "Joint elder." I spit out these words with a sluggish face. The blood lineage leader suddenly looks like a dead gray. He is a joint elder. His status is comparable to that of the eldest elder in the family. I have shot him at the moment. Now, I'm afraid his punishment will never be clear. However, it happened that at this time, Bitian Jiao, who left not long ago, returned again. At the same time, there were several other elders behind him, and they were the leaders of the Hai Jiao family. Beihai, the Si Jiao family, above the altar. When Phage Chenjiao returned again and the elders behind him saw the scene, they couldn't help frowning and their eyes continued to sweep away. However, they found that there were several conspicuous holes hanging on Xiao Yang's black robe at this time, and their skin was also unusually red. Their faces suddenly changed, in the twinkling of an eye. After seeing the lineage collar being surrounded and blocked by a group of bodyguards, I immediately understood it in my heart. "Xueshang, what's going on?" Behind him, a gray-haired old man walked towards the lineage leader with a gloomy face. At the same time, several bodyguards around him also hurriedly stepped aside. However, for the old man's questions, Xueshang's body trembled and couldn't say a word. The old man was helpless. Then he looked at the bodyguard aside. Although the latter didn't offend the lineage leader, under the old man's dignified eyes, he told the story exactly. "Damn it! You made a big mistake last time, and now you dare to attack Xiao Changlao again. You really deserve to die." With that, the gray-haired old man suddenly raised a palm and wanted to blast it at Xueshang's chest. With the cultivation of the old man, if this palm really falls, I'm afraid the blood will not die and will turn into a seriously injured body. But at this time, Xiao Yang suddenly opened his mouth. "Elder, wait a minute. I think it should be just a misunderstanding." As soon as Xiao Yang said this, the volatile old man easily dropped one, and then stopped. He hummed a little coldly, and said coldly to Xue Shangdao, "If the headmaster hadn't always pleaded for you, you would have become a loser now. The elder is serious. Everything between me and the lineage leader is just a misunderstanding. First, he didn't know who I was before, but only knew I was a human. Moreover, if he hadn't been frustrated by my lineage on Panchi Island a month ago, I wouldn't have happened just now." Hearing Xiao Yang's words, those bodyguards present, as well as Phage Chenjiao and others at the moment, changed their faces in an instant, took a breath of cool air in their mouth, and returned with the defeat of the blood commander a month ago. Unexpectedly, it was because Xiao Yang was not in front of them. Although they all knew that the person who forced the Haijiao family army to return that day was a strong fighter against the emperor, they were not very clear about the details of the battle. Therefore, they naturally did not know the bone and spirit cold fire that made great achievements in the battle, but they could not think that the culprit leading to the failure of the Haijiao family was Xiao Yang in front of them. Knowing this, Phage Chenjiao and others were in a state of bewilderment. At the same time, they also had a trace of pity for the lineage leader. When they met someone bad, they met the young man in front of them who even had to give way. Then, the lineage leader left the altar with the help of those bodyguards, and Xiao Yang returned to the residence of the Sea Shark family under the leadership of Phage Chenjiao after being polite to several elders in front of him. Seeing the Sea Battle Day and others, Xiao Yang also stated that he was very satisfied with the Qianlongyuan. In this way, the external conditions needed to refine the different fire were solved. Next, Xiao Yang's own affairs, the pill needed to devour the different fire, and his own state in all aspects must be in the best state before preparing to devour the different fire. Xiao Yang thought about the pill needed to devour different fire, and finally gave up the idea. Not to mention that the pill prepared by devouring Hai Xinyan is of high grade. Only the medicinal materials are enough to make Xiao Yang feel headache. Although he has the support of the huge resources of the Xi family, Xiao Yang also knows that he can't always take other people's things. The reason why the Tudahai people are polite to him is that he has saved all the younger generation of the Tudahai people, and on the other hand, he also has the reason of sea battle. If it were not for the latter, he could not have the so-called identity of the joint elders of the Tudahai people. For now, all these titles are just empty and want to sit down. I'm afraid we have to wait until Xiao Yang has enough strength for them to face up to. With this in mind, Xiao Yang can't help sighing in his heart. In this world, no matter where he goes, he still needs to speak with strength. Without strength, anyone will treat you as an ant. On the contrary, even if you don't do anything, others will treat you as a guest and guest. The truth in this world has always been the same. Although there is no pill, Xiao Yang plans to replace this vacancy with the ice spirit obtained from the ice spirit cold spring. As a rare thing in the world, he can inhibit the existence of different fire. If the ice spirit is used as an auxiliary in the process of refining different fire, Xiao Yang's pressure will undoubtedly be greatly reduced. In addition, he will accept the ice spirit cold liquid in the ring. If it is poured out at that time, it will certainly become a great help. There were no more things to worry about. In the next few days, Xiao Yang became relaxed. In these days, Xiao Yang visited the huge palace at the bottom of the sea in addition to sleeping and resting. In this regard, Hai Zhantian and others are inconvenient to disturb, so as to save some unnecessary psychological burden on young people. Therefore, as a granddaughter, Hai Linga is naturally assigned to accompany Xiao Yang. With Hai Linga nearby, the blood crown of the Xi Jiao family is naturally indispensable. At first, they seemed a little awkward because of Xiao Yang's current status, but the three were young people after all, and soon adapted to each other. From time to time, the relationship between the three also heated up rapidly. Perhaps this is also the main reason why Hai Zhantian sent his granddaughter. The friendship established between the young people, they are often much more solid than the promises of their old friends. A few days later, the figures of Xiao Yang and Hai Morchen appeared on the altar of the Hai Jiao family. They looked at the huge deep-sea cave in front of them, and then their eyes fell on Xiao Yang. Today is the day when Xiao Yang is ready to enter the Qianlong abyss and start swallowing the sea heart flame. A few greetings. Finally, the eyes of Xiao Yang and others fell on Haimo Dust and Naval Battle Day. As soon as we leave today, there will be no day to meet again. How can such a scene make people feel sorry? The two old men looked at each other with flat eyes, but who knew what a shocking wave was surging in their hearts at the moment. The two men were silent for more than a quarter of an hour, but they never spoke a word from beginning to end. Until finally, Haimo Dust took the lead in taking back his eyes, his body trembled slightly, the blue light of fire immediately lit up, and several people around him were moved. In addition to being amazing, they naturally also had envy. Then, when Haimo Chen's body completely turned into a blue flame, he rushed into Xiao Yang's body, and Xiao Yang solemnly hugged everyone present. Then, his body was shocked, the forest white flame wrapped around his upper body, and his body also flew over the Qianlong Yuan. Then, under the eyes of everyone, it turned into a white streamer, like a diving dragon entering the abyss. It rushed into the cave filled with cold water below. This video will end here.